Hi, I'm Danielle Tully.
And I'm Melissa Colletti with eXp Realty.
And we are girls just want to sell houses.
And have fun.
So last week we talked about inspections that are on the disclosures or they are on the contract.
That are pertinent,
Yeah, but we're going to talk about some of the extras that don't get talked about but have sometimes as needed basis or overall because they're a good. Again, inspections are to give you a bit of peace of mind, and these just help you a little bit farther with that peace of mind.
Correct. Let's start with, we got mold inspection.
Yes, mold inspection. So that's usually something that you don't initiate unless maybe you saw something, during, walking through, or an inspector found, maybe during the inspection.
And recommended one.
That they said that there was indication that something might be a mold.
Because your normal inspector doesn't test for mold.
No. So this is truly, somebody comes in and does a test to see what's in the air or what is on something, and hopefully remediate that so that you can get a fresh start. So it doesn't mean, obviously some cases are worse than others, but there is remediation that can sometimes not be super invasive if it's minor or in the beginning stages, or sometimes it does get a bit, getting down to the studs on things and maybe even replacing studs depending on how bad the mold is. But again, that's part of the reason that you would want to get a mold inspection, and if it truly is mold, then remediation.
Yep. That's why we get the inspectors, the people that are in the know of those things.
Absolutely.
The next one would be, which I just had yesterday, a sewer scope inspection, which I feel like those are always good to have. See if there's any obstruction in the water flow of anything going out to the sewer, to the city. So your line basically from that point to the home. It's good information. I always ask a lot of questions and I always learn because I love to learn. But sewer scope guy was telling me, inspector, not guy, the sewer scope inspector was telling me that sometimes that's when you find out if the pipes are clay, if they're PVC, like all these things, and they just take this little camera and they put it down there and you get to see all the stuff. I saw some spiders and stuff, and so it was neat.
That's what you want to see, though. That's all you want to see.
I just heard that. He just told me that yesterday and I was shocked. He goes, oh, some spiders. He goes, but you want to see those. I was like, really? Why? Well, and then he told me that they're good. That means that there's air flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see.
I would much rather see a spider than find out that there's tree roots.
But yeah, they look for
collapsed.
Tree roots and collapse. Thank you so much for keeping me on track because I do like to go off on little tangents. But yes, so sewer scope inspection. The reason why my buyers had one is because the home inspector that was there the day before, he had recommended one, and so they took his recommendation and then they had one. Yeah, it was good. I've only done quite a few of those in 9 years.
I think they're very important.
Oh my
I wish
gosh,
I would.
yes.
I think sometimes some of these neighborhoods and stuff need to. And again, issues can be happening with new construction too.
Oh,
Not saying,
yes.
but so it's not just about old houses. But yes, the older houses often have the clay that then can collapse a lot easier than some of the.
But
other
let's touch on that since you did say that. All these inspections that we're talking about are good for new construction too. Just because it's new construction doesn't mean that there's not any problem.
Perfection and
and pretty much you don't want to just go based on the builder or the builder's inspector or whatever, the sheets that they have and all the things and timelines they have to go through, because at the end of the day that inspector works for the builder.
Well, and also actually we're going off on a tangent right now, but we were just talking about mold. There are in inspections you really would love to ideally have multi-step in new construction.
Yeah.
Because I have talked to inspectors who have done new construction, and sometimes, things are left in the open water, so you could have mold in a brand new.
Oh, you mean like when they're building it?
Right.
And it
they bring the material, the material, the drywall gets wet, or,
so many
there's other things that happen that, mold or other things, warping and shoddy work and whatever can also be done in some of these construction, projects. So, a lot of these are still relrelevant. You might not have to get to the mold inspector part. Hopefully the traditional guy inspector that comes through would at least raise a flag and say, hey, let's go to this next inspection.
Yeah.
You know, this mold, the structure, whatever it might be. That does bring us to our next one, which is structural inspection. So getting a structural engineer, obviously that's like a whole nother level. But, and again, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a deal killer for some people. It just means let's know what we're dealing with, and that's exactly it. It's just about mitigating as many unknowns as we can for our buyers, and structural engineers can help us figure out, you know, is this something that a small binding, you know, or doing a little bit will help, or is this, you know, you're trudging out an entire basement to
again
do it.
When you're getting your general home inspection, if they see stuff like that, it's been in my experience anyway, that if they see something alarming, you know, or could possibly be structural, the home inspector will tell you, you know, maybe it might be a good idea for you to get one out here, because they don't do structural stuff. They're not qualified for that, but you need an engineer. So that's if it's deemed necessary, or if it's just something that you want to have done, that's your choice too. But that's always a good one too.
The next one is
Asbestos.
asbestos. So obviously it's been a long time since
Sorry, this is the fun part.
and the asbestos is one of those that is something that's not a product that's used these days, or it's at least not supposed to be used these days.
But in older homes too.
Older homes have them all over the place. It could be in tile. It could be in the ceiling. Sometimes those popcorn ceilings.
Yeah.
Ceiling tiles wrapped around pipes and stuff like that for the furnace. You know,
I had one once years ago that it was inside the insulation that was.
Yep, that too.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things that, again, encasement and there's, you know, ways to mitigate it.
Yeah, proper procedures you need to take, and
but also clearing it out is not something you can just tear down,
put it in a garbage bag,
and get out. You know,
environmental issues there.
Yes, there is definitely extra steps. So again, being aware of what those extra steps are. What type of liability you're taking on, and if it's within your, you know, comfort zone.
Right. Everything comes down to your comfort zone, for sure.
And you just said environmental issues.
So let's just go with that one. I think that one's next. Environmental inspections.
Environmental inspections. So again, it's a highly specialized thing that, you know, I wouldn't tell any old buyer to have, but sometimes if there's land, or sometimes if there's concerns of what, you know, things going on, it can be as big of an issue of, you know, what was previously on this property. Were there tanks in the ground? Maybe a gas station or something, you know, obviously those are different types of, you know, that might have been commercial scenarios, but, you know, things change all the time. Things that were industry or things that were farming, you know, get changed into things that are now houses or commercial. But anyway, there's, you know, it could be as big as that's what I'm saying. Or sometimes it's just about getting an inspector out to make sure the grading is okay. I saw something the other day on social media where it had rained for like an hour, and these people had only lived there for a little bit, and their entire backyard was in inches of rain, and there was no, and they're like, grading, what do I do? You know, even if I had, you know, how do I drain this out? How do I, you know, so, and I saw something else similar with rain issues, where there was a pipe in the open land next to them that was overflowing, took out their fence.
Oh no.
And was creating like a river through their whole backyard. Oh. And it's like, you know, we thought we had done what we needed to with this.
Yeah,
right. Now it's
waterfront.
Yeah,
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, sure.
Craziness.
So these are the type of things that, you know, if there seems to be grading, you know, opposite sloping, things like that, environmental inspectors or professionals can come out and help you kind of figure out, again, your liability and how to fix them.
Yeah. Let's talk about my favorite.
Yeah, it's this time of year.
Pool inspections.
So obviously pool inspections are one of those things that can't be done year round.
No, because if they're closed, then it's, you know, in the middle of winter, if you're buying, like, you can't open up the pool to see if everything is functioning.
And I would actually, that would be one of my biggest buyer beware points out there. Obviously, if it's kind of an above ground pool that's just, you know, there, if you buy a house with one and you're looking forward to it, and there's something majorly wrong with it, yes, it's not free to fix it.
No.
But it's much easier. In-ground pools are a whole other beast.
Yeah. Well, they have gas heaters, or they could have gas heaters. They could be concrete. Concrete could be cracked. You don't know what's under there, especially if it's, closed for the winter. Was it properly winterized? Like,
how long has it been closed?
Yes.
It's been closed for 2 years because there's a major problem with it.
Yep.
So again, pool, I would say, again, we're in an area that they'll be closed, for 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So
I have a pool. I love my pool, but it's not for everyone. Some people don't like pools.
But pool inspections are usually for maybe in ground, things that are a little harder to get to, harder to have unknown
mechanicals parts of
sure
it. If they have a pool
going.
house, they call it, where they store all that stuff. Yeah, it is fancy. I don't have a pool house. I have a pool Joe. Chimney inspections. If you have a wood burning fireplace, even if it's electric, I guess, or not electric, gas, you could do that too. But wood burning fireplaces, you want to see if the chimneys, not, what do they call that? I'm not an expert.
Sealed and that
no cracking and all that good stuff.
Right, that everything's getting out. There's not too much, build up, because build up is very, as it turns out, flammable things don't always get burned all the way, but they end up there and they're still flammable. So you certainly don't want a secondary fire halfway up your chimney. And so
those are important though anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So making sure it's cleaned and inspected is a very important thing. And again, some of these things are things to be done, you prior to closing. There's others that, just maybe could be on your radar for the first year or so, to make sure that before you go to get it done, you have your first fire for the winter. If you bought in like May, you just, make sure that you maybe want to have somebody come and check it out and do it. So again, these aren't necessarily all before. Yeah, you don't have to do all these things, and everyone's scenario is different. What you're buying, where you're, what it has. Does it have well septic? Does it have city sewer and sanitary? If you're buying land, if you're, buying a house that was built on top of a old gas station, like everything is different. But these are inspections that are available to you. You could certainly do some of these after you purchase the house too. Not everything has to be done prior. Just do the most important that you feel you deem it are important and what we advise, and go from there. It's just a little stepping stone of things that that you'll have to eventually do, or a cost maybe down the line, or what have you. All different kinds of scenarios, I guess. And then the last one I think is water quality test. You want to talk about that? So water quality, again, if you're in a municipality, usually there's some sort of water quality requirement if you're getting city, or you don't have your own. But that's not to say you don't want yours, because you can still have a softener or a filter or an osmosis or whatever your flavor of wanting clean and good water is. You could decide on that. But also, well water is likely going to be hard. And so, and you don't know what other type of contaminants are in there. And so getting a water quality report for your well is advisable as well, if you're going to be drinking that water or using it for cooking and things like that. There's just so many things, and this isn't meant to be so overwhelming. It's just more informational, and that there are qualified professionals out there that are licensed and know all the things. We just want to talk about what's available to you, share a little experience on things that we've had come up. But all good information. Yeah, I mean, this list, between last week and this week, we had quite a few inspections out there, and it is about trying to, make sure you are protected. Yeah. But it does seem in the know too. And it does seem overwhelming. It does. I'm overwhelmed talking about it. It can be overwhelming. But it's not supposed to be something to make you... It's not a deterrent. Yeah, you shouldn't be worried about buying a house or taking on the responsibilities. Yeah. But there is, many things that people don't think about. And so we're just trying to help people touch base, think outside of that box, making sure that their probably biggest investment, until maybe if they upsize in the future or whatever, that this investment of theirs is worthwhile, and it's something that will keep them and or their family or whomever protected. Well, that's our job, right? Is to keep you informed, and I know it's a lot of information, but to keep the buyer, informed. And
let them know what their options are, and obviously navigate them and advise them the best that we can so they can make an informed decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But that's all we have today on inspections. If you missed the first half, you can go back and check that out. But I'm Melissa Colletti at eXp Realty.
I'm Danielle Tully.
See you on the next one.
video. Yeah.
Take care.